Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. Welcome back for the second time today. Of course, did the usual show in the morning, but Mikel Arteta has just had his press conference at London Colney ahead of the game against Bayern Munich tomorrow in the Champions League, that open training session as well. So a few bits and pieces to catch up on this afternoon. So I thought I'd put back on and record a second show. As you can see, I'm not at London Colney today, unfortunately. School run duties and the timing of the press conference made it impossible for me to get there. But as is the way on modern internet, you can watch the press conference live now. So I did see what Mikel has had to say and the latest team news and injury updates from him. So we'll talk about that very, very briefly in today's show. I'll do the main preview show tomorrow as normal. You want to get involved in that show, please do get down into the comments. Give me your starting 11. Tell me what you think Mikel should do, how he should approach this game, who should maybe get a rest, who should maybe come in. And I'll pull them together as always and get them included in tomorrow's preview show. So the big sort of headline news, I suppose, from the training session earlier today at London Colney. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a picture of it right there. Martin Odegaard involved fully in the training session today, which is obviously great news. He's gone back to the old Martin Odegaard hair. He's not had his hair cut since he'd done that injury. He'd gone sort of short Odegaard, hadn't he, before the injury, but he's growing it out again. Not sure I like it as much, to be fair. I thought that new Martin Odegaard short hair just gave him a bit of an more aggressive look. I was hoping we're going to see that for the rest of the season, but you're not here to hear me talk about Martin Odegaard's hair, right? Sorry, got totally lost on a tangent there. So yes, the big news: Martin Odegaard involved in the training session. We had Madueke there, we had Martinelli there, Calafiori was there. He obviously limped off sort of late on in the game against Spurs at the weekend. So that's all good. Players who weren't there were Gyokeres, no Havertz, Max Dowman wasn't involved. I feel like there was someone else as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, no Gyokeres and no Havertz. Marley Salmon was involved, a young defender. He was brought over into the senior squad from the start of the training session as well. Whether that means he'll make the bench tomorrow, we'll have to wait and see on that. Obviously, there's an extra space defender-wise because Gabriel will not be around, and you get extra substitutes on the Champions League as well. So that'd be a big moment for Marley Salmon if he does make the Champions League squad, of course. So we'll go to what Mikel had to say in his press conference, and we'll start then with Madueke, Martinelli, and Odegaard. Now, Madueke obviously came on for the last sort of period of the game against Tottenham. I can't remember the exact minute he came on in the game against at the weekend, but he did feature. So there's been no flare up from that, no setback or anything like that. So he's clearly going to be involved. Martinelli involved as well. So he was asked, are those two doing well after Tottenham? And Mikel said they are. On Martin Odegaard, he said, we're going to have a meeting to decide on Martin. He was very close for the previous game, and we are hopeful. So that's what he said about Martin Odegaard being involved tomorrow night. Further on in the press conference, he was also asked about, Tom Canton asked it, about the sort of balancing act of these players who have been out for so long now coming back in. How do you sort of ease them in? How do you sort of balance the need to get them in the side to make an impact while also being very aware that they haven't played for a long time? You don't want to rush things and don't want to get any sort of setback. So you kind of have to ease them in slowly, especially when the players themselves, like Odegaard, certainly will be sort of chomping at the bit to get himself back out there. And he admitted it was a challenge, and it is going to be a challenge. So they've got to be very aware that these players, they can't play 90 minutes at the moment. So if you're going to start them, you've got to know at some point you're going to have to take them off. So when are you going to take them off? Then you've got to know who on the subs bench is ready to come on and replace them, because if you're starting a player who you know can only play 60 minutes, you've got to have a plan in terms of what happens. I can't imagine Martin Odegaard comes straight back into the starting lineup for this game. You know, you've got a player in Everett Eze playing ahead of him in his position at the moment who's just come off the back of a hat-trick. He's not going to get a rest against Bayern Munich. I cannot see Eze not starting this game. So you can ease Odegaard back into things, give him, 20 minutes, 30 minutes if needs be. Tomorrow we saw Madueke get about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so against Tottenham at the weekend. Martinelli didn't come on. I would say that Martinelli, you know, he's not been out that long. He's not been like Madueke. He's not been like Odegaard. It's been more sort of 3-4 week thing maybe for Martinelli. He was on, you know, he was up to speed before then. So of all of them, if anyone's going to start tomorrow, I would suggest it would probably be Martinelli. If anyone can do 60 minutes, it would be him. was in good form before the injury as well. Has played very, very well in the Champions League. Leandro Trossard's played an awful lot of minutes as well. So he would be the one that I would consider maybe there would be a chance of making the starting 11. But you don't have to rush things. It's fantastic that we got these players back, but the last thing you want to do is bring them back in too early and risk any sort of setback. So that's what he said about Madueke, Martinelli and Odegaard. On Havertz and Jesus, obviously they're not going to be involved. They weren't in the training session, so they're not going to be involved tomorrow night. But when he was asked about them, he said they are both doing really good, both of them. So in the next few days, they are going to have a repeat scan to see if we can push them for the weekend or the next game. So that's quite interesting, I think. I mean, look, I cannot see there's any way that they're going to be, especially someone like Kai Havertz, if he's not even back in training yet, you're not going to get sort of good results on a scan this week and then say, okay, fine, you're going to play against Chelsea in the weekend. You know, you're going to have to ease him back in. He's not played since the opening weekend of the season. But it is still, hopefully, a good sign. As much as you can kind of, you have to take everything that Mikel Arteta says about injuries publicly with a bit of a pinch of salt. It's hopefully a good sign. You know, if these scans come back and everything is clear and they are given the green light to return to training, then that's a really important step for them. And you know, the sooner those two come back, the better. And Gyokeres, similar to Martinelli, he's not been out for that long. It's only been since Burnley. And so if he can come back, if he does get the all clear, then hopefully he's not going to have to be eased in quite as slowly as someone like Havertz, for example, or even Martin Odegaard or Madueke. So that's what we got on Havertz and Gyokeres. On Gabriel Jesus, who was again involved in the training session, you can see him there in the picture in the background. This was quite interesting. Obviously not going to be considered for selection tomorrow in this squad, but Mikel did say he's quite close. It's earlier than expected. In the next few days, he's going to have another step. He's going to have to make with a game that we're going to organise for him. So behind closed doors friendly coming up for Gabriel Jesus. There have been whispers on social media about a game against Manchester United behind closed doors. I don't know if that's the case or not. I've seen the suggestions. It kind of feels a bit weird to me that it would be Manchester United. So until I have that confirmed, I'm obviously not going to go too deep into it. But you know, if you're staging a behind closed doors game, dragging someone 4 hours down the country for a behind closed doors doesn't quite feel right. Normally, you just knock on the door next door to Watford in the training ground and literally shout over the fence, "Do you fancy coming over for a game?" And that's what Arsenal do. So to bring Man United down just sounds a little bit strange for me. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see if that is the case. So we'll try and do a bit of digging and find out what's going on with that. But it's a good sign, and that's going to be a massive step for Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, he's been training for a while now. But if you can get a behind closed doors friendly set up and he can come through that, get 60 minutes under his belt, maybe have one more after that or a game with the under-21s, and then suddenly you are back. And like Mikel said, it's earlier than expected. Unfortunately, he's not named in the Champions League squad, so he can't even be involved in the games that are left in this competition. And you kind of look at the matches, maybe not the Inter Milan game, certainly that game against Kara Almaty, and just think that would have been perfect for Gabriel Jesus as you're easing him back in and looking for minutes, but not in the squad. So that's not going to happen, but still positive signs anyway on Gabriel Jesus. I think a lot of the talk, and I spoke about it in this morning's show, obviously changes against Bayern Munich. Are we going to see that? Are we going to see many? I don't think there will be lots. I think with Mikel Arteta, 3 is probably the sort of number that we might be looking at for tomorrow. He was asked about the sort of possibility of changes and how important this game is. Obviously, playing against the Bayern side, who, like Arsenal, got 100% record in this competition. Both have started superbly. Both could probably take a defeat and still be fine when it comes to qualifying in the top 8 positions, you would think. But I thought Mikel was quite interesting on it. I mean, it's just a tiny little quote that I took. He said, look, we know the importance of the game. We are in a really strong position and we want to maintain that. It's not really the words of someone who's thinking, you know what, I'm going to change 6 or 7 players here. I just don't see him doing it. I don't see Vincent Kompany doing it for Bayern Munich. They've had a demanding game. They had a game at the weekend that they had to come back from 2-0 down for. I don't know who they got this weekend, but it'll be another important game for them. They're trying to run away with the Bundesliga at the moment. I don't see him changing much in midweek for this game. I can't see him suddenly changing 5 or 6 players. We know they're without Luis Diaz anyway, and I just don't see Mikel Arteta doing it. Maybe 2 or 3. The fullbacks, potentially so. Maybe there might be one other choice there. Like I said, if you could play Martinelli for Trossard, someone like that, but that's going to be about it, I think. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. And I'll get a surprise when I see him in the 11 tomorrow, but we'll see. on that. There was lots of other bits and pieces in the press conference. Jurrien Timber spoke as well before Mikel Arteta, said some really good stuff. I thought some really interesting stuff. Timber about Arsenal, the quality in the defending, talked about being a right back under Mikel Arteta and the challenges. He said at Ajax, they were beginning to do a little bit of different things before he moved. But when he came to Arsenal, it was just a whole nother level what he's being asked to do. He said, you just got to watch the video of Arsenal games and you can see how difficult it is and how different it is. But he's loving it and enjoying it. And he spoke so well during him. He's such a brilliant player. And he speaks really, really well. So you'll be able to find content from Timber's interview as well. And obviously, Mikel, you'll be able to find the full transcript very, very soon on arsenal.com from what he had to say. There was joked a little bit on I think it was Darmesh from Sky said to him, in all fairness, we've sat here and spoken to you about set piece goals all season. You scored 4 from open play at the weekend. So in all fairness, should we talk about that and how good you are from open play? And Mikel made me laugh. And it's just like, look, to be fair, they all matter the same to me. It's all, a goal is a goal. It doesn't matter where it comes from. I'm upset that we didn't score from a set piece at the weekend, which made me laugh. And I think Bayern conceded both of their goals from set pieces last weekend. So get your delivery right, Declan and Bukayo, and hopefully someone can fill the void left by Gabriel and take advantage of maybe a weakness in the Bayern Munich team. And I'm certainly not going to complain if Arsenal score a set piece goal. And that is it for me. Just a short, sharp roundup from the press conference today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in the morning to do the preview show ahead of the game against Bayern Munich. Like I said at the start, anything you want me to discuss in that show, let me know in the comments. Give me your 11s. Give me your opinions on who should be in, who should be out. I'll pull some of them together and get them included in the show. Have a good Tuesday evening, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.